Let's get
those claims that are counter to that, then they should provide evidence or at least put their names on it so we can question them about that as well. Because otherwise, we're just in the realm of pure speculation. And frankly, I just don't find.
I used to work at Voice of America. You're wrong. Okay. Okay, chatter.
Find that useful. I would love more useful information. This is why I'm angry at Pam Bondi. I think there should be all the useful information possible. But the same thing holds true for people who are making claims on the other side. Otherwise, I can claim that he was working for a cadre of space aliens who are blackmailing high-profile Americans in order to protect from a future invasion. And there's just about as much evidence for that as many of the claims that are being made on the other side.
All right, well, let's talk about that.
That is made requires evidence. Any claim that's being made requires actual evidence. And at the very least, in the absence of evidence, the credible names of the people that I can either trust or not trust, ranging from, again, the President of the United States and Vice President to the head of the FBI, the AG, and the Deputy Head of the FBI.
Well, I think it's very hard to say those people need to come out and put their names on these claims when they're working for an administration, this one and the one before, that didn't want that to come out. You're asking somebody to countermand the people they work for.
How am I supposed to falsify their claims? Now we're working in the realm of the unfalsifiable.
You're not, but you're.
Oh, wow. Ben Shapiro, once again. Ben Shapiro, once again, shockingly enough, taking a position that seemingly benefits Israel.
Look, Ben, you can't come to me and say, everybody I know says he killed himself. And then I respond saying, I actually have my own sources who say he didn't. And then you say, well, your sources are not valid because they won't put their names on it. Okay, who are your sources? Let's go down the list, and then we'll talk about why they might be saying that.
My sources are the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, Dan Bongino, the Deputy Head of the FBI, and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. And those aren't just my sources. They're everybody's sources because they...
Okay. What would Ben say if Merrick Garland, the FBI head under Biden, Kamala Harris, and Joseph Robinette Biden were all saying that Jeffrey Epstein actually killed himself? Please don't look at this at all. There's nothing to see here. Like, the only reason why Ben can get away with saying this is because he assumes that everyone in the audience is on board with all of these people and thinks that they are infallible. The problem here is the Epstein story is in and of itself infinitely more interesting for these people than all of these individuals that Ben just mentioned. I would go so far as to say even Donald Trump. That's why I was saying that this Epstein situation is like the first time I've seen genuine separation from even Donald Trump himself. If the Israeli media Twitter account tweeted that Epstein didn't kill himself, Ben would die defending that position with no evidence. Yeah. Well, if the Israeli media Twitter account tweeted that Epstein actually killed himself, I would assume that he didn't. If they actually said that Epstein didn't kill himself and he was assassinated, I would assume that he actually committed suicide, to be fair. So the position that Ben holds for the Israeli media account or the official Israeli spokespersons, I hold the exact opposite position.
Publicly came out and said this.
Nobody cares about Epstein. Oh my God. Yeah. Nobody. Stop talking about Epstein.
Okay. Trump hasn't specifically weighed in on that specific aspect of it. We've all seen the limited things that Trump has said and tweeted on this. And J.D. Vance was calling for transparency and suggesting otherwise prior to taking office. He hasn't commented on this so far, so he's not one of your sources.
He's the vice president.
You've got Kash, you've got Dan, and you've got Pam, and we've already discussed that memo in full detail. I'm talking about people behind the scenes who, prior to Trump taking office, I'm not going to get too specific, but trust me, I have high-level sources who have said they don't believe any of that. Any of that. Okay. So, and I'm not going to out them for purposes of convincing you, but you're telling me name them. No, I'm not going to. I don't have authorization.
I'm not saying
and then you say, well, I dismiss all of it because you won't name them.
Hold on, Megan, I'm not saying you should name them. I'm saying they should name themselves because otherwise they are being complicit in one of the greatest cover-ups in the history of
That's
the
easy
American
for you to
Republic.
say, Ben. That's easy. That's very easy for you to say.
Why
Okay,
is that
so
easy for me to say? Why?
because you'll have your job and you'll have your millions, no matter what they do.
Are you kidding? Megan, give me a break. If somebody came out today and they were a whistleblower on the greatest scandal in the history of the American Republic, they would make more money tomorrow than in.
If someone actually came out as a whistleblower on the Epstein shit, they'd get killed. Okay? I'm sorry. That is such a, he's right. No, he's not. If someone comes out as a whistleblower against the interests of the American State Department, they go to prison. On this issue, if they were to come out as a whistleblower, they would get Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? No, it would be suicide. Yeah, they would leak the State Department, they would leak the intelligence secrets on Jeffrey Epstein and then be overcome with such grief about the consequences of their actions that they would instantly kill themselves by shooting themselves in the back of the head with 2 bullets. Okay? Famously, they would go, "Oh my God, I'm so sad. I can't believe I released this information. I'm so sad. I'm going to kill myself now by shooting myself in the back of the head with 2 bullets." Okay?
Their entire life working for the FBI. That's ridiculous.
Okay, there are reasons not to cross the people who are in charge. And that's all I'm going to say. And look, this is me not having drawn a conclusion. I don't know what the truth is. I've been reporting in a way, I mean, I see you've taken a side that you've chosen to believe the story that's being offered, and that's fine. A lot of people have. I'm not there yet. I don't actively say that there's a pedophile ring. I don't say any of that. I'm just following the facts, and we're not at the place where I can draw that conclusion.
Well, no, I can draw the conclusion that the evidence that I'm seeing and the people who are speaking about it lead me toward this particular conclusion. And if counter evidence is presented that is not speculative, then I will change my conclusion, because that's what I've done on this case. Until this memo came out, I was weighing toward the more extreme version of this theory. And you can look back at my tweet.
Oh, so you're saying until Donald Trump said Jeffrey Epstein didn't, nothing to see here, you were on board with the theories. Got it.
What I've said about it. And then this came out, and now my perspective has changed. When the facts change and the people who are speaking,
I guess I'm just not that.
Yeah. Also, after it was reported that Trump called Charlie Kirk to ask him to tone down his criticism of the Epstein files, here's what Charlie Kirk had to say.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine. Honestly,
Trump has been making boss calls. Trump has been making boss calls on this to be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up about Epstein. But here's one man who will not. Here's one man who is unbowed. Alex Jones, does Israel have blackmail on Trump?
My integrity's king. We're 8-9 days into this whole Epstein attempted gaslighting by the DOJ cover-up, exploding, endangers the entire Trump administration, attention America and Western civilization, and by extension the entire world. I want Trump to succeed desperately. I support 95% of what Trump's doing. I think he's a great man. From all research, he's not.
Uh-oh. As soon as we started talking about Jeffrey Epstein, we got stuttered. This is all Smokey's fault. Smokey sold us a bad bill, folks. He sold us a bad bill. 2 days in a row, we're getting hit by attack helicopters. Once again, I'm going to fix it now. We got to test out the delay. Folks, what is the delay at? Write this number if you see it. Number 4. Top number 4. We're testing out the delay. 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got a 4-second. We got a 4-second delay. It's not that bad. I'm still gonna fucking hit the. ingest fix. You're gonna see an F in 1. That's right. AlexJones.com, Infowars.com. We're back. No delay. All right. We're going to test it out. We're going to test out if there's still a delay or not. Everybody, subscribe now. Show me if there's a delay or not. Subscribe for $6 to the Piker Broadcasting Service or for free with a Twitch Prime. Right now, get your primes going in the chat. Get your subscriptions going in the chat. That's the only way that we can find out whether or not we're still getting hit with the Mossad laser beam. All right, I'm seeing some subscriptions coming in. I'm seeing some subscriptions rolling in. That's right. It's the only way. At Tequino, thank you for the 10 gifted. All right, let's get back to AlexJones.com, Infowars.com. All right.
Eight, 9 days into this whole Epstein attempted gaslighting by the DOJ cover-up exploding, it endangers the entire Trump administration and by extension America and Western civilization and by extension the entire world. I want Trump to succeed desperately. I support 95% of what Trump's doing. I think he's a great man. From all research, he's not connected to Epstein in any illegal activity.
He always says this. He always fucking says, look, I've done my research. Trump is not connected to Epstein in any way, but maybe he's been blackmailed by the Mossad. Who knows?
But all the 180s and all the flip-flopping that we've seen has blown this into a new level of Streisand effect. Now, yesterday, it came out in the corporate press that Ghislaine Maxwell in federal prison for human trafficking, Epstein's accomplice, known Mossad operative, MI6 as well, that she's ready to release the list. And, she's brought her case to the Supreme Court and all the rest of this. Number one, I don't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. She is on record a human trafficker. And you don't take somebody that's in prison and then take what they have to say later. So, yeah, I'm defending Trump right there. But you look at this headline, the deep state is attempting to blackmail Trump. It doesn't mean they've got something, but they have had control, like Trump said, the Democrats, of the file. They took out whatever they wanted and added whatever they wanted into it. So that's true. So a bunch of people are pissed off on me at one side saying, look, you're defending Trump when he said on Truth Social 2 days ago.
Dog, we listened to you yesterday. You quite literally said, oh, I never thought about this angle that the Clintons and the Democrats might have fucked up the Epstein list. And now he's like, of course they did. Like yesterday, he was like, oh, what a brilliant way to talk about this, Mr. President. I didn't even think about that. And now today's like, obviously, it's an established fact that Obama the demon, polluted the Jeffrey Epstein list, the client list, with every Republican, including Donald Trump.
That they've had the file, just like Russiagate or anything. They falsify stuff. You can't believe it. That's a real issue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Obama, he smells like sulfur. I smelled him, folks.
They could have done that. I don't know they did that. I'm simply wargaming every angle of this. But then you look at all the bizarre behavior.
Yeah, he's wargaming every angle. That's why he's glazing Trump, and he's finding a way to just like align with Trump on all of it.
Behavior of them raiding the FBI offices, the FBI raiding itself in March, getting all those documents and videos, them telling us there's 14 terabytes and hundreds of new victims and Epstein raping kids. And now Bondi's like, you know what? You just want to see child porn. You just want us to release child porn. Nobody ever said that. And, Trump at that press conference last Tuesday, you just asked a question about him working for an intelligence agency, Epstein. You're standing on the graves of dead kids. How dare you? I mean, this behavior, you couldn't make people think you were guilty more. Trump's enemies couldn't do something like this. So I'm godsmacked. I am dumbfounded at a certain level. But now that she's come out and done this, you got Dershowitz saying, "Oh, you better pardon her," and all the rest of this. But Dershowitz was like, "Release the file. I'm not in it." Well, okay. Well, I mean, what is in the file? How does Dershowitz know? I'm not saying Dershowitz is guilty. There's never been any evidence of that. I'm saying, how does he know the Democrats didn't add something to that I mean, Adam Schiff had to get pardoned because in the J6 fake committee, he created fake emails and fake speeches and fake phone calls of Trump. Remember all that? The fake mafia calls? I mean, when I testified for the J6 committee, I said, you're not a real committee, you're criminals. And I take the fifth, not because I'm hiding something, but because you will claim I committed perjury and you're frauds. And I took the fifth 98 times. At the start and the middle, they kept saying, why don't you answer questions? I said, again, you're criminals, you're criminals, you're criminals, Liz Cheney, all of them. Notice they destroyed all the video of that because it's so embarrassing of me right in front of them to their faces telling them that. Now, you're never going to see that because they destroyed it, which is another crime. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know all the answers, exactly what's going on here. I just call balls and strikes, as I've said. But we've got a major, major issue here. And Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were on record Mossad. So was her dad. You can look all this up. And so with the huge Israel lobby coming in right now, the Trump administration and all the rest of it, the Democrats have been basically defeated politically. Trump finally got rid of a bunch of them in the bureaucracy. But now Israel is sliding in with Netanyahu to try a hostile takeover of America. That's undoubted right now. And that's breaking everywhere. And that's great news. Tucker Carlson and others exposing him. And I've never said Israel runs everything or is the worst thing in the world or, it's one monolithic thing. I'm not even against Israel's existence. But now Israel is trying to get us into a full war with Iran and by extension Russia and China. And Israel is exerting itself. You see all the signs. So now I'm like, yeah, Israel is making a move on America. China's been the main threat. But now Israel is so heavily engaged here that I've got to just say I'm a loyal American. And yeah, Israel's trying to move on America. So, and it's clear, all the evidence points towards Israel, Netanyahu using threats of what's in the file. Not that Trump did something, but he's been in reports the FBI put out. Something is there. And I told you over a week ago, I said, it's Trump, not Bondi, not Patel, not Bongino doing this. It's Trump. And Trump on Truth Social and now in statements has said, yeah, it's me. I want to move on. I want this shut down. So they are trying to blackmail Trump, and he's acting like they've got something.
Superman made everybody woke faster than expected. Yeah, Trump didn't do anything, but he's being blackmailed. With what? With what? Is Israel blackmailing Trump? With what? What could you possibly even blackmail Trump with? I mean, we know Alex Jones will defend Trump, even if it came out that he was like fucking children. So what could Israel have on Trump if he's blackmailing Trump? Like, the only thing I can think of is like blackmailing him with, footage of him having sex with a child, I think, right? So then maybe he is involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And that kind of undermines the first point that he made. I'm not saying this is the truth, by the way. I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply saying that Alex Jones's presentation here doesn't make sense. Like the logical system that he's trying to develop here, which is that Trump had no involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, but also simultaneously Mossad might be blackmailing Trump. I'm just wargaming. I'm wargaming out all the scenarios. If Israel is blackmailing Trump, what are they using to blackmail Trump with? Raping a minor. That's the only thing that this could be, which means that maybe he was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. It doesn't make sense.
So I just have to be honest about it. And I'm going to play a clip here in a moment, or I'll post it here in the same post after this live feed, of Benny Johnson knocking out of the park today and saying, you better have press conferences. You better explain how the judicial, legislative, and executive process works out. You better explain how investigations work. You better explain that the files are with the prosecution in New York where Epstein died. You better explain that you recommend cases. You don't run cases. He's absolutely right. What Benny Johnson said is true. And then what Glenn Beck said, he said, listen, we can't lose our soul over this. Yeah, we get Trump's doing a lot of good, but we know this is all there. We know that there was blackmail. We know there were intelligence agencies. We know this video of him from around the corner doesn't show that he didn't kill himself. We know this, so you're insulting our intelligence. And then to imply we want child porn released, as Bonnie and others have done, is just totally outrageous. So that's where I am on this right now. And I'll play the Beck clip, or post a Beck clip here as well. But Then you've got Charlie Kirk, who I think is a great guy and so much to get Republican voters on. I love him. He's like, I trust Trump. I trust the administration. I'm not asking any more questions, and I'm not talking about Epstein more. Well, that's the message I reported last week. The Carl Seraphin, I got him reports myself from people, but he also had his reports and some public reports of major talk show hosts, influencers getting calls saying your access can be cut off at the White House, Susie Wall stuff, if you don't stop, and the FBI calling people. Well, that's a cover-up. So we don't want to be aiding the Democrats here, but we're not in a cult like Democrats that go along with corruption. So here's Benny Johnson. I'll post it in this, under it. Here is Beck. Benny Johnson keeping his soul, Beck keeping his soul. And I'm not saying Charlie Kirk's losing his soul here, but I'm not going to question my friends. I mean, if my wife didn't show up for 2 days and just showed back up at the house, I'd say, where you been? If I had a business partner I'd known for 20 years, a great person, all of a sudden a bunch of money's messing up, I'd say, you know where the money is. I mean, when people start telling you don't ask questions, you got a problem. Remember all the New York Times articles and Washington Post articles? Asking questions is bad. Doing your own research is bad. No, it's good. So I don't want to be focused on this. But everything Trump and them have done the last few months with Bongino and them, like during the headlights on that Fox interview, has triggered all this. And I said, like, if you want it to go away or you don't think you can prosecute people or it's a national security issue, I'm not defending that, but I understand that. Just shut up. Shut up. Instead, Trump, hey, I've done a great job. You know, Truth Social, leave it alone, drop it. They're going to have congressional hearings now. They're coming after you. I've never seen such a self-inflicted wound. So Benny Johnson nails it. Glenn Beck nails it. And Charlie Kirk, you know, I'm just not going to question my friends. And I understand that thought process. I don't agree with it, but hey, Trump's doing so much good. We've seen him try to.
Alex Jones trying to desperately defend Trump while simultaneously imply that he probably had sex, like he probably raped children, and therefore under like Mossad supervision is so funny because you're basically saying the worst thing about Donald Trump. You're taking the long road into saying Donald Trump is involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Like you're trying to say he's not involved with Jeffrey Epstein and then literally saying he was absolutely involved with Jeffrey Epstein. This makes no sense. How can you arrive at this position where you're like supposed to be the moral compass, the North Star of leading conservative conspiracy theorists? Okay, well, and you have this approach to the subject matter where you keep saying Jeffrey Epstein is not involved with Donald Trump in any way, except for the fact that the Mossad might have captured Trump on video and has blackmail on him, which is causing this kind of division to take place. What is this? Don Winslow. Dear Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Cash, and Dan Bongino, I want to introduce you to yourselves. MAGA is watching. God is watching you. Hashtag Epstein cover up.
Please do not let that story go.
Who has Jeffrey Epstein's
Black Book?
Black Book?
FBI.
But who? That is I mean, there's.
That's under direct control of the director of the FBI.
What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
This isn't about Epstein or 9/11 or JFK or RFK. It is, but it isn't. It's about a bigger thing. If you're lying about that, you're lying about everything. Who's on the Epstein tapes, folks? Who's on those tapes? Who's in?
Yeah, it turns out we looked at the tapes and we didn't like who was on it. Actually, no one's on the Epstein tapes. They don't exist. Excuse me. You're a freak. You're a freak for even assuming that. You're a freak for wanting to know who was on the Epstein list. Okay, you must want to look at CSAM.
Those black books. Why have they been hiding it?
And this is something Donald Trump has talked about. The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. Everything's going to come out to the public. The public has a right to know. Americans have a right to know.
Ghislaine Maxwell is going to get out of jail if the Epstein files don't exist. She shouldn't be in jail. She's going to get another trial. No, the answer to that is that Ghislaine was helping sex traffic people just for Jeffrey Epstein alone. That's what they will claim. No, Alan. Are you letting her out? Okay, close it. Let her out and then close the door. Close the door. All right, because I'm streaming. Trump used to wish her well because how do you know she's guilty? Yeah, this was so crazy. This was such a crazy moment. Remember this interview was such a banger, dude. It's one of my favorite interviews of all time of Donald Trump, the Axios one.
A reporter asked you about Ghislaine Maxwell. You said, quote, "I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, but I wish her well, whatever it is." Mr. President, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested on allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person well?
I don't know that, but I do know that
she has. She's been arrested for that.
Her
you know that.
Friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot.
Her friend is in jail and then commits suicide. Her boyfriend is so sad. Is so sad. Who wouldn't feel sad about that? Bro, wait, hold up. We got to run it back. Dude, listen to
allegations of child sex trafficking. Why would you wish such a person
first of all,
well?
I don't know that, but I do know that
she has. She's been arrested for that.
Her
you know that.
Friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now.
By the way, this was under his watch. He says either killed or committed suicide in jail. Your jail. It was a federal prison. At this point, he was still president, and it had happened not that long before this interview was conducted. It happened under his watch.
In jail.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I wish you well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty. I mean, do you know that?
Oh, so you're saying you hope she doesn't die in jail? Is that what you mean by wish her well?
Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out, how did it happen? Was it suicide? Was he killed? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking bad for anybody. And they took that and
she's a alleged child sex trafficker.
Big deal. But all it is.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's so good. It's so good. Trump, when there's a random like construction worker that has maybe a little bit too much melanin, killed a person. He's a rapist, MS-13 gang member. They're barbaric. They're brutal. Every single person that's Mexican has actually raped every white woman in America. Trump, when it's an international pedophile sex trafficker, possibly a member of the intelligence community, I wish her well. She was such a darling. She's such a great cocktail guest. I love it. I love her. I think she's so beautiful, and so is Jeffrey Epstein. What a guy. What a guy. What a guy. I wish her well. I wish him well. I wish everybody well. We don't know if she's guilty or innocent.
Her boyfriend died. He died in jail. Was he killed? Was it suicide? I do. I wish her well.
One of the best interviews ever conducted, straight up, where Jonathan Swan isn't even like trying that hard. What is this? Beitar is not taking the Superman well. I am a man boiling with rage. Yesterday, I went with my son to watch a new Superman movie. Superman, the ultimate superhero, a character created by two Jewish immigrants, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, in the 1930s. A character is supposed to represent hope, justice, and light. The actor playing Superman, Jewish. The studio, owned by Jews. Even the character of Superman himself, symbolically and historically, is considered to have Jewish roots, a refugee sent from crisis and war to save a better world, created to empower the Jews who returned from the Holocaust. And what did the pathetic progressives in Hollywood do? They trampled all over this. Instead of presenting a character who defends the weak and fights for justice, they turned into a disgusting political caricature where Israel, under a different name, is portrayed as a fascist state, a warmonger, and a close ally to the U.S., which sounds a lot like Israel to me, which supplies advanced weaponry to fight poor and miserable farmers, the good Palestinians, with pitchforks and stones. Again, quite similar to the reality that is unfolding. By the way, the Forbes wrote an article on this as well, by the way, and they put me in the headline. Whether Superman, DC's new blockbuster, made a splash at the box office this weekend serves a metaphor for Middle East unrest as animated political figures on the right and left, from Ben Shapiro to Hassan Piker, despite the director denying any direct reference. Yeah. U.S. envoy Tom Barak defended Syria's new ruler al-Sharaa, comparing him to George Washington after a Lebanese journalist questioned his rise to power. Oh my God! You already know when a right wing government considers a Muslim group to be similar to the to the founding fathers. Let me tell you, folks. When that happens, you already know what's about to take place, okay? That's exactly what happened with the Mujahideen. Anyway, let's get back to the story at hand here with Jeffrey Jedediah Epstein and the drama
by President Trump.
But in a big reversal, the DOJ and FBI have now announced the end of their investigation, writing that a review found, quote, no incriminating client list and, quote, no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed anyone, and confirming that he had died by suicide. As for that so-called client list,
I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
For years, many Trump allies, including his now FBI Director Kash Patel, pushed for the release of the government files on the Epstein case, insisting they would implicate prominent Americans in a sinister plot. Here's what MAGA star Dan Bongino, now the Deputy FBI Director, said in 2019.
The questions surrounding this alleged suicide are numerous and are worth entertaining. And worth getting to the bottom of quickly.
According to multiple sources, Bongino had a heated argument with Bondi at the White House last week and has told friends he may resign. Last night, Trump said he thinks Bongino is still on the job.
Is Dan Bongino still your deputy FBI director? Have you spoken to him?
I think so. I did. I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times. And he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape.
In his Truth Social post expressing support for Pam Bondi, Trump said that people should not waste time and energy talking about Jeffrey Epstein. But George, judging from the response to that post, it appears that many of his own supporters are not ready to take that advice.
Yeah, this does not seem to be going away. Okay, John, thanks very much.
Many people, including me.
We already watched this.
You got Bondi, you got Patel, you got Barr. All of these people work for Trump, okay? So if they're covering up for somebody, who do you think they might be covering up for?
So you think they're covering up for President Trump?
People look at all of us. Everybody is looking at little pieces of this and coming up with kind of theories. But people really take the time, because there's a lot of facts, there's a lot of information. People who take the time and really investigate this thoroughly all come to the pretty much conclusion that maybe Trump was behind this.
Wow.
Maybe Jeff was killed to quiet him.
You think President Trump has something to do with Epstein, with your brother being killed?
Someone said sus last name. Dog, that's his brother. Mark Epstein is Jeffrey Epstein's brother, chatter.
I wouldn't write that off. Because if you look at all of the evidence we have and all of the facts, not opinions.
Also, he does sound like Norm Finkelstein.
And all of
but just like Norm Finkelstein on 2x speed.
the facts, that wouldn't be something I would dismiss.
I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to say, but there is zero evidence that Donald Trump had anything to do with your brother's death.
Well, somebody did.
Release the Epstein files. That is the demand coming from the top House Democrat.
Dude, my suspicion is the reason why they can get away with saying shit like this, like the Democrats, I mean, despite the fact that at a certain point they also were in charge of the Epstein files and didn't do shit, is because they know that the Trump administration will never do it. So ironically enough, now they're playing the same role that like Dan Bongino and the Trump and the Republicans did. When Democrats were in charge, they were like, oh, release the Epstein files, knowing full well that like whoever came after would never release them. So now it's like a game of chicken, okay? Democrats are not in charge. They know for a fact that the Trump administration will not fucking release the files. So now they're saying release the Epstein files. Because both parties have people, prominent figures in both parties that are involved with the Epstein files. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says emails with Elon Musk are too intimate and embarrassing to make public. Wait, what? Were they fucking? What the hell is this? God damn. They're doing damage control now. Important. I just confirmed that Dan Bongino was in his FBI office at work today and is working on something very important. Dan was in a positive mood. Charlie Kirk, seeing eye emoji. Now this might be good enough for a lot of the Republicans to get back on the this administration is not hiding the truth train. It's not good enough for me because they already played. They're trying to play damage control now, but the past week has shown that these guys abso-fucking-lutely what is this? And we'll look at the Abbott files in a second. But the past week has shown, why do people think you're a terrorist? Easy question, easy answer. My name is Hassan, and I do not unconditionally support America and Israel, and contextualize oftentimes why there are groups out there that resist militarily against American and Israeli violence. That's it. I could have just stopped there, though. My name is Hassan. Thank you for your answer. Yeah. Yeah, it's the name and nothing else. You're cooked. I mean, let's be real. If my name was fucking Hank, I wouldn't be getting this ass blasted. There are plenty of white, red-blooded Americans who arrive at similar conclusions, understandably, and talk about it in an academic context or talk about it in the realm of journalism. Jeremy Scahill is a great example of this. Ain't nobody calling him a terrorist. Why is nobody calling Jeremy Scahill of Drop Site a terrorist? Perhaps it's because his name is Jeremy Scahill. You know what I mean? Ryan Grimm, another example. Tucker Carlson, for fuck's sake. Michael from Pennsylvania. Also, to be fair, Felix Biederman, Brace Belden, Noah Colwyn, there are numerous people like this. And even if they were to be called terrorists, it doesn't hit the same. They'll just say that they're like a terrorist supporter at most. Who is actively calling you a terrorist? My former podcast co-host. Numerous Israel advocacy groups. Virtually everyone that watches Asmongold, Sex Pestiny, among many others. The entire cadre of slop tubers online. Yeah. You just activated 5,000 chatters from their slumber. Yeah. I'm going to get to the Superman thing in a second. I want to keep doing the Jeffrey Epstein stuff.
Tonight, Hakeem Jeffries joining MAGA Voices saying that the American public deserves to know the truth. And Jeffries offered up two explanations as to why he believes the administration may be involved in some sort of a cover-up.
Option one, they lied for years. Option two, they're engaging in a cover-up. At this point, it seems reasonable that can only be one of the two things. And so it's Congress's responsibility in a bipartisan way to ask the questions and try to get answers on behalf of the American people.
Again, that is the top Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives. It is obviously an incredibly rare thing. This might be, in fact, the only time that he's been on the same page as some of the biggest names in the MAGA universe.
Coming out and saying there is no Epstein list, and so forget about it after promising to release all the Epstein information.
Bro, every time Alex Jones's beautiful face graces our timeline, I get a mini F. It's really fucked up. What is this? Every time Alex Jones' bald head is shown on the broadcast, I get hit with the fucking raise.
Information. It's just flip-flopping in 180s.
The unholy alliance, Hakeem Jeffries and Alex Jones. That's Alex Jones today, who then posted that, quote, evil forces are afoot. And then there's Laura Loomer, who's telling Politico that she is now calling for a special counsel. The quote is, so that people can feel like this issue is being investigated and perhaps take it out of Bondi's hands, because I don't think she's been transparent or done a good job handling the issue.
I can't hide her face.
Well, look,
I can't
the
look
war
at the screen
over
to change
Epstein
it.
is one of the biggest rifts between Trump and his most loyal and powerful reporters that we've seen. And Trump right now has taken a clear side, which is not releasing information. This image says it all. Trump invited the Attorney General Pam Bondi to the FIFA World Cup finale over the weekend. As you can see, he appears to be giving a thumbs up to her. He brought her there. That's really what the picture that says 1,000 words. Bondi, of course, is the same person who said that the Epstein client list was on her desk nearly 5 months ago, and now says there was actually no list and there's nothing to see.
I love how much the media is enjoying this, by the way. Buckets of popcorn, baby.
Times Trump's deputy FBI director has taken a stand over the handling of the files. Trump acknowledging the civil war that's erupted inside his inner MAGA base, but making it clear that base, while at the same time he's trying to keep the pressure off of his attorney general. He posted, "What's on with my boys and in some cases, gals. They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is doing a fantastic job. But of course, when it comes to Trump's boys and gals who are on the opposite side of Bondi on this, they say they want to know the truth when it comes to Epstein, to just release any information. And after all, it all comes down to this, just to remind everybody, Jeffrey Epstein, who you see on the screen, was arrested on federal charges of sex trafficking minors. Let's just say it the other way, underage girls. That same year, officials say he died by suicide in his solitary confinement prison cell while awaiting trial. And since then, more and more details of Epstein's alleged activities have come out, and they are disturbing, including allegedly luring underage girls to his homes where he sexually abused them. Now, while he died before he went to trial, his partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, is currently serving a 20-year sentence after being found guilty of sex trafficking. And Epstein had hundreds of millions of dollars of money he was ostensibly managing for really rich and powerful people. There's a lot we do not know about him. We do know, though, that he was friends with a lot of rich and famous people, including President Trump and former President Clinton, and a whole bunch of other billionaires. Now, none of them have been accused of wrongdoing, but given that Epstein was able to carry out these alleged crimes for so many years, Trump should be the one pounding the table, put out the information, make sure something like this never happens again in the United States. But right now, he's not.
Are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
Well, Trump says he wants to move on now to end the war that's dividing his base and now getting Democrats on board, too. But there are still many with very serious and important questions. And Kristen Holmes is out front live at the White House to begin our coverage. And Kristen, you've got some new reporting tonight on what Trump is doing. I mean, there's a split between the Department of Justice, his Attorney General, and his deputy FBI director. I mean, this is meaningful even in the Trump inner circle. What are you learning?
Yeah, and just to be clear here, we talked a lot about the deputy FBI director, Dan Bongino, but it's also been a rift between the FBI director, Kash Patel, and Pam Bondi as well. Both of them, Patel and Bongino, have been unhappy, complaining privately about the way that Bondi handled the Epstein files, the Epstein case in general, and particularly the rollout. And that was something we heard across the board. Even some of Donald Trump's closest advisors were upset.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years, you're asking. We have Texas, we have this, we have all the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? Believe it, folks. Nobody wants to talk about this guy. This is Jeffrey Epstein, the guy that won't die. All the guys, and in some cases, the gals.
With Bondi. But when you talk to the president himself, sources say that he is supporting Bondi 100%. And part of the issue here, though, is this idea that President Trump doesn't want it to look as though his administration is falling apart over this issue. And that's why you saw over the weekend Vice President J.D. Vance spending an enormous amount of time talking to Dan Bongino, to Kash Patel, to Pam Bondi, to playing some kind of role as peacemaker to try and diffuse the situation. And we heard that Dan Bongino, who did not go to work on Friday because he was really protesting Bondi's handling of this. They had a blow up on Wednesday in the White House, that he did show up for work on Monday. Now, his future is uncertain. There is a general belief that he is not long for this world amid the administration. He himself has said that he doesn't actually like this job, but President Trump wants it to be on different terms, not him leaving because he's angry about the Bondi rollout. And this, now we see what the next steps are. Is the administration going to respond to any of this calling from the MAGA base to release more information? Right now, it seems unlikely.
All right, Kristen, thank you very much at the White House tonight. Out front now, Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin, the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, I appreciate your time. I know that you have been clear where you stand on this. You have said Trump should release all of the Epstein files and put an end to this, to use your words exactly.
Dan Bongino, for him, his job is like his life. Okay? So if he actually quits his job, that's like he's going to die. Okay? And by his job, I don't mean his job as the deputy director of the FBI. I'm talking about his podcast. We are officially in the podcasting administration, and it turns out no notes. Everything is fantastic. There's nothing funnier than Dan Bongino quite literally constantly talking about how much he fucking hates this job because he's now required to literally defend the administration when he had the best podcast gig on the planet. Amazing. As someone who is a Sure Mike podcast enjoyer myself, I totally understand. I would never want to have a real job either. Okay.
Then the DOJ comes out with this memo saying there's no client list. Epstein wasn't murdered. We're all good here. Let's move along. Why don't you believe them?
Well, for one thing, the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said that the client list was on her desk. Then you had Donald Trump in a tweet or in a Truth Social missive saying that all of these files were actually created by the Democrats, thereby decisively implying that the files actually exist. And of course, Trump and Bondi and J.D. Vance and the FBI Director Kash Patel, all of them were demanding that the government release everything that they had on it. And suddenly the president performs a complete about-face on the matter and says that there's nothing to see here and let's move on, and wants to sweep it under the rug. And so, look, I have no idea what's in those files. I do know that this case has been mishandled from the very beginning. Donald Trump's former labor secretary, Mr. Acosta, was the assistant U.S. attorney when they gave Mr. Epstein a very sweetheart deal where he pled guilty to one charge of solicitation when they had all of these underage female witnesses testifying about his.
Yeah, you can auto pen all day, every day. Okay, you can fucking complain about Biden's auto pen. This shit ain't going away, big dog. It is not going away.
Basically trafficking in girls. So, it's been very weird from the beginning, but I don't know what's in their files. So either we're going to confirm everything that Donald Trump and his team have been saying all along, which is that there is this extensive child sex trafficking ring among power elites, or it will explode the whole thing as a conspiracy theory and mere propaganda. But at this point, the president owes it to the country to put it to rest one way or the other.
Well, of course, as you pointed out, not just what Epstein had been convicted for, but what he was on trial for. I mean, Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years just for aiding and abetting one part of that. The crimes here are horrific, and if anyone else was aware or involved, the American public should know. In fact, the MAGA faithful, as you point out, have been pounding on the table on this, calling for it repeatedly. Here are a few of the biggest names.
How is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light?
Put on your...
Oh man, this is I can't get enough of this, dude. This is fucking fantastic. No shot mainstream media talks about any of this in any serious manner after Thursday. I mean, mainstream media will probably run cold on this stuff. But that doesn't mean independent media is going to let it go. Dude, they've talked about Jeffrey Epstein nonstop. They've talked about Epstein literally when the media wasn't talking about it. It's a major plot point for independent media.
Big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are.
What the hell are they hiding with Jeffrey Epstein?
I mean, it's the president's son. It's the head of the FBI. It's the deputy head of the FBI now. I mean, those are the three.
Like, the one thing I can foresee, I don't like the misdirection narratives sometimes when people be like, oh, do you think the Jeffrey Epstein stuff is just like a case of misdirection so people don't talk about the ICE raids? But I think it's the exact opposite. I could see Trump doing something fucking insane just to, because he recognizes that like he's on shaky ground with his base for the first time ever, and screaming about Biden's auto pens is not going to do it. So I could see him doing something totally fucking nutty, like, I don't know, invade Greenland or something militarily, so that everybody talks about that instead of this shit. I could see him doing that on this issue, nothing else. Because redirecting the attention away from Jeffrey Epstein is more important than talking, like consistently allowing Jeffrey Epstein to be talked about. Former Senator Claire McCaskill. Oh my God. It's got fucking potato ass Claire McCaskill talking like this.
He was close to the fire. He was, as somebody said over the weekend, there are more pictures of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein than there are trans athletes in the NCAA by multiples. So the bottom line is he wants this to go away.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Claire McCaskill. What the fuck? God damn. I mean, she's just ass normally. Even Claire McCaskill has become dark woke.
This is the first topic.
CNN went to TPOSA and asked people about Trump Epstein scandal.
That all of us as Americans, not as Democrats, not as liberals, not as Republicans, are actually lining together and saying we all want the Epstein files. And I said, come on, Donald, give us those files.
We need to get to the bottom of Epstein because Epstein is the key that picks the lock.
Let me just ask you, make some noise if you care about the Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think they're going to maybe give us pieces and maybe not the whole thing and think that that's going to suffice. And I don't think people are going to be quiet about it until they really do it. But who knows if we'll ever know the true story.
Can Trump just say, look, release everything?
If you know anything about him, he can do and say whatever he wants. Do they have to listen? I don't know the legalities of that or the policies and procedures.
How bad do you think it would be for the MAGA movement, for young people's trust in Trump?
Bro, I'm telling you, dude. God, I told you. The tariffs weren't going to do it. Israel wasn't going to do it. Well, for some people, maybe it like pissed them off a little bit, but not enough to fucking speak out. Okay? Cutting Medicare and cutting SNAP benefits, definitely not going to do it, even though Trump said he wouldn't touch those things. But this right here is directly at the heart of something that his base wanted. This is supposed to be the fucking red meat that they get. I told you, this is it. This is such an American issue. It's got everything: drama, villains, a smoking gun, a storyline. Yeah. Why do you think CNN talks so little about Epstein during the Biden admin? What do you mean? Because Jeffrey Epstein, 100%, just like it was just like Jeffrey Epstein is a Trump affiliate, he absolutely is an affiliate of the Clintons. And CNN is the Clinton News Network. I think the only reason why the media feels confident talking about it like this is because they know that Trump is not going to fucking release any information. Also, I think part of the reason why they didn't talk about it that much is because, like, the Biden administration, for all its faults and failures, still presented itself as a competent administration that didn't like traffic in conspiracies, some real, some fake, in the same way that the Trump administration has been. So this is a direct, like, we said we were going to do this. Trump has a fairly high success rate of like delivering on certain promises exactly like this one. And they flexed so much. They constantly and stupidly talked about Jeffrey Epstein being just like a liberal thing. And I think the administration realizes it's not just a liberal thing. So now it's a great way to just draw a partisan wedge. The media loves stories where Trump's base is actually decoupling from Trump. Okay? The media loves stories like that. They will do endless articles about like, this is the time where Trump is, this is the time where Trump's base is yelling at him. So this is a perfect story for them to keep covering.
If by the end of his term they don't release everything they know about Epstein.
Well, I think that if they don't release the Epstein files, whatever J.D. Vance says then is irrelevant because it's like everybody's going to take it as like a lie because of what Donald Trump did. But I think J.D. Vance wants these files released as well. And I think that Donald Trump, he promised them, so he needs to do it. No matter who's on them, we need to release the Epstein files.
It's Trump's decision. It's Trump's decision. I think again, and I'm not going to make the decision for the president. It's not my job. It's not my place. But I do think the way that I'm seeing it played out is that Bongino will be here and Pam Bondi will be the fall guy.
You think that's fair?
I don't think anything's fair in politics.
This guy's so funny. Yeah, Bill Clinton creating the Epstein files and putting his own name in there. Trump says Epstein files were created by Obama, Clinton, and the Biden administration. Yeah, while Bill Clinton was creating the Epstein files and putting his name on there, he also happened to be frequenting the Lolita Express quite a bit. If anything, if there was a guy who was not an Epstein affiliate, I would go so far as to say it was Obama and Biden, ironically enough. As far as I know, and I've done a decent amount of reading on this, I don't think there's anything beyond like who they hired and like their consistent allegiance to, the state of Israel or its own, understandably, its own intelligence communities. There isn't that much like direct involvement. And Obama and Biden are not even aligned with the Clintons. They're actually the anti-Clinton wing of the Democratic Party. But again, once again, it doesn't matter because Jeffrey Epstein is so much more of an important figure than just, the Clintons. Because if the speculation is correct, then Jeffrey Epstein is a asset for both the CIA and also the Mossad. Imagine Biden at a party, he would die. Also, he doesn't need that. Jill Biden is enough of a sexual dynamo that can soothe Brandon's appetite, his sexual fervor.
People making those statements. I mean, I guess I'm trying to understand. It would make sense, wouldn't it, that Trump would want to release this, if not just to assuage his base? I mean, why not put something out there if it exists?
Well, he was with them in demanding that these materials be released to the public. And now all of the questions that his son was asking and that Kash Patel was asking and Dan Bongino were asking are now directed at Donald Trump himself and at Attorney General Bondi. They want to know why, now that you have the reins of the government, you're not just going public with it. And so, look, at this point, I think the president has helped to spin large parts of the country into an absolute paranoid tizzy about all of it.
Yeah, I said this earlier. I said this yesterday. A big reason why this is causing such a rift in the MAGA base is because it's the first time they've been told no. It's the first time they've been treated like a Democrat Party voter. Now they are being told good things aren't possible, actually, and you're stupid for even asking for such a thing for the first time ever by Trump, and they don't know how to reconcile it. Yeah. They have some of the they have the most spoiled fucking fan base, the Republican Party. So yeah, they're pissed off. They're pissed off because the spoiled fan base is not getting what they want.
This again, we don't know what's there and what's not there, but we need to resolve it. It's kind of getting to be an ungovernable situation, and the president should go ahead and release whatever they do know about whether there are outstanding sex abusers out there who have not been picked up for the crime.
President
Trump offering his full support to.
Holy Toledo. My goodness gracious. Entered on top topic searched alongside Trump on Google.
His Attorney General Pam Bondi inviting her to attend a soccer match in New Jersey today. All of this amid a MAGA world revolt over Bondi's handling of the so-called Jeffrey Epstein files. A Justice Department memo concluding there is no evidence of a client list for the disgraced financier and convicted sex offender. CNN Chief Data Analyst Harry Enton is here to run the numbers. Harry, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I am wondering, how much interest is there in the so-called Epstein files?
Well, if my buddy Vin from Jersey is any sign, there's a lot of interest. He won't shut up about it, but he's not the only one who won't keep quiet about it. What are we talking about here? Why don't we take a look at Google searches for Jeffrey Epstein? Take a look at this. Today versus a week ago. Up like a rocket, up 1,900%. My goodness gracious. And get this, it is currently the top term topic being searched alongside Donald Trump today. If Donald Trump, who is begging, asking his supporters to drop it, he is not getting his wish whatsoever. His supporters are not dropping it. Interest in this story is at basically an all-time high. And of course, this is such an interesting story because it is one that unites different parts of the far right. It's one of the few stories that actually brings together folks like Steve Bannon and Elon Musk. They all are wondering what the heck is going on here. And at this particular point, Donald Trump has not figured out a way to solve this problem and quell the problem on the right side of his base.
So put this interest into perspective when you compare it to other news stories this week.
Yeah, okay, so we're talking about right now Google searches for Epstein. What about some other big stories this week? You know, take a look here. Again, we're looking at Google searches today. Get this, searches for Epstein have been, get this, 4 times higher than they are for Grok. Of course, Grok, the whole thing, that of course is part of X, went off on its own, the AI, and started throwing out anti-Semitic stuff, talking about Hitler and all that jazz. But interest far higher for this particular topic than there is, in fact, for Grok, much higher for, of course, Epstein. And then for tariffs, which, of course, have very much been in the news. Get this. Searches for Epstein today have been 7.6 times higher. So interest for the Jeffrey Epstein story through the roof, Jessica.
And what's the feeling around if Trump will actually release any of these, any more information, any more files this year?
Yeah, so, you know, we can go with the conventional wisdom. We can look at the betting markets, and I think this is part of what's going on, is that a lot of folks are saying, you know what, he's not going to release any more files. The Trump administration's not going to release any more files. Get this, Trump releasing more Epstein files in 2025, according to the betting markets.
Okay, they're officially running out of shit to talk about. Exclusive. Jeffrey Epstein hired private investigators to follow, intimidate, and surveil FBI agents who were investigating him 2 decades ago. Law enforcement officials tell Rolling Stone. Huh.
You go 2 months ago, it was 40%. You go a month ago, it was 39%. Now it is just 21%. So the MAGA base is hoping that there'll be more files to be released. But at this particular point, neither they nor the betting markets, in fact, believe there'll be any more files to be released. And that, of course, is a problem for Donald Trump based upon what we've seen from the MAGA base over the last 24, 48, and 72 hours.
Yeah. All right. So you talk about betting. I want to ask you about some questions around how the Republicans' legislation that was just signed into a law by the president might impact the gambling and sports gambling industry. How big has that become here in the United States?
Yeah, you know, there was essentially a way that you'd write off losses would be very difficult for professional gamblers. They really hate this bill. And more than that, I would say the gambling industry at large doesn't like this because it has become such.
I literally confronted Steve Will Do It from the Nelk Boys with this information in the new bill. I was like, bro, you're a fucking degenerate. You're a fucking gambler at the phase party. And I was like, how do you feel about your boy now? He cooked you. You know, you can't, like, you now have to report your gambling losses as well, pay tax for it. And he said to me, one of the funniest things I've ever fucking heard. He went, nah, that shit's for losers. I don't lose. I always win anyway. If you want to understand the mindset of like a Trump booster, That's how you know that's a real gambler. Okay? That is literally the most like gambler brain I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. He said, that's for losers. I always win.
A big industry. I mean, my goodness gracious, legal sports betting revenue, you go back 8 years ago, it was $261 million. Look at where we are today. It's a $5.5 billion industry, sports gambling alone. So we're talking about a tremendous industry with a lot of money at stake, Jessica.
Yeah. And how much of Americans at large embrace gambling?
Yeah, I think that this is sort of the key giveaway, right? It's not just gamblers who have embraced gambling. What are we talking about here? Pro sports gambling or betting should be legal. You go back to 2006, it was 42%. Up.
We're so fucking cooked. We're so cooked. Like everything, dude, this is one of the most dangerous vices. And it's shocking to me that every single one of these like anti-porn guys out there who are always like, oh, Sigma grind set, or even like anti-alcohol, anti-drug guys, they love gambling. They all pump gambling. They fucking enjoy it so much. They defend it so much. They're all pro gambling. Gambling is unironically a significantly worse, demonstrably worse, plenty of evidence for it, vice than pornography. Okay? It is far worse than I mean, this is not even, there's not even enough like evidence for this, like porn addiction, okay? I know as soon as I say, yeah, pornography is not a vice, even though there are plenty of people who are going to say, porn's pretty bad though, brother. Porn is actually so much worse, actually. You don't understand. It's like, no, you're just telling on yourself. Okay? It is the most suicidal addiction. It is my most Sharia adjacent opinion. As a man who has no problems with the consumption of other vices and consumption of alcohol, okay, it is straight up the most suicidal addiction. It is my most Sharia position, okay? I am Mr. Sharia.
Again, like a rocket, to 58% now. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Americans at large react to the big, beautiful bill. We already know approval for it is low. The more we learn about it, it'll be interesting to see how folks sort of feel about it. When it comes to pro sports gambling, I'm not sure they're going to like it, Jessica. In fact, I might even bet on it.
How about that? Harry Enton, good to see you.
The president is having to stand by his attorney general because this outrage continues within the MAGA base over the Jeffrey Epstein case. Over the weekend, Trump posted a lengthy defense of Pam Bondi, asking, "What's going on with my boys and gals?" Going after Bondi, adding, "I don't like what is happening." Bondi's facing growing pressure over her call to keep Epstein files sealed after promising to release more. Now listen to how she's being talked about at the conservative Turning Points conference in Tampa.
I don't think he realizes how much she's humiliated the administration. This is a self-inflicted wound. She caused it. Again, I have nothing against Pam Bondi, but if you want to look for the villain in this story, we have found her.
I can't wait until you are into a camp. Why are all my haters like this, bro? Like, you had one opportunity, one shot. You've been following since July 8th, okay? And, like, you boofed it. You flubbed it. You fumbled it. You butt fumbled it. First message in the chat. You're about to come in hot. Like, you're about to come in strong. You're like, yeah, I'm going to send you to a concentration camp. Like, and you just fucked it up. How? This is your opportunity to be the most impactful. You're not supposed to fuck this up, dude. I can't wait until you are into a camp. $36,000 people just saw you butt fumble. If you wrote that correctly, perhaps there would be 36,000 new allies for your cause. They would be like, damn, this guy's fucking got some good ideas. You know? And you got so fucking horned up. You got so excited to fucking let your message be heard in the chat that you fucking failed to deliver. Oh, God, it's got to be sad. What a sad, pathetic moment lost. Oh. He's a shy guy, too. We are so cooked. The Dems are finished. Embarrassing.
I mean, she is the person who's she's either lying now or she was lying then.
So the cracks are growing in the MAGA base, also hitting the leaders of the FBI. You have Deputy Director Dan Bongino reportedly threatening to resign over Bondi's handling of the case. And Trump, meanwhile, says, look, there's nothing to see here.
Oh, I think so. I did. I spoke to him today. Dan Bongino, very good guy. I've known him a long time. I've done his show many, many times. And he sounded terrific, actually. No, I think he's in good shape.
Group chat is back. Over the weekend, I was watching the kind of meltdown on X, which is very much the heart of the Epstein conspiracy amplification machine. I just made that up. But it's where you're going to see the people talking about it who care about it. What did you think, though, of seeing such a direct explanation? It is her fault.
Yeah, so Donald Trump might not be taking sides, but the MAGA universe is totally taking Dan Bongino's side here. You see a lot of heat coming up against Pam Bondi, and one of the reasons is because she gave an interview where
the only reason why they're quote unquote taking Dan Bongino's side is because, unlike Kash Patel, he actually does have like some star power, and also Dan Bongino has actively criticized Pam Bongino and said like he's trying to separate himself from the admin. Not gonna lie, purely on the Epstein fumble and the worst magician trick where you can literally see the end of the car sticking out of his pocket and yelling to not look there literally makes me just say a big F you and vote Dems. Look, brother, if that's what makes you vote Dem, then, you know, go off. Pam Bondino. Pam Bondi riding under the rig on her way to Valhalla. It's just like, it's just so, oh God. Like even though I knew that this wasn't going to fucking come to any sort of serious conclusion here, and I still don't think that if they were to reveal any information down the line, it would be serious. Like, one angle I can see is like Ghislaine Maxwell coming out and doing a congressional hearing on this and basically reasserting the Trump administration position, which is like, oh, there was no like client list. And all of these famous people just like hung out with Jeffrey Epstein because they love him. Like, they love his vibes. And that it was him. He was the only one who was like sex trafficking these minors for his own personal consumption. Okay. I could only see that as like as a way to try and bookend this. And I don't think that's going to be enough for a lot of these people. I don't think they're going to believe this shit. I don't think they're going to be like, okay. Like, or they might just assassinate her in prison too. I mean, commit suicide.
she said, I have the files on my desk. I've looked through them. I've seen them with my own eyes. We're going to make this a priority. So when you say that, you are implying that there is something there and you're going to release it. And then and they actually did end up releasing some stuff to
They did. And she always said, I'm going
redacted.
to review it,
Yes.
right?
I still don't understand why they aren't just burning some people they don't like. because the people that they don't like that they would potentially burn would be too high profile. If it's a low profile Democrat, then nobody gives a shit. It has to be a high profile Democrat. And if you actually burn a high profile Democrat, then that Democrat could potentially turn around and be like, dog, you were at the party. Like, I saw you raping a minor. You know what I mean? It's mutually assured pedophilia destruction. It's mutually assured pedophilia. MAP. Okay? That's what it is. So, like, it's yeah, it would be, it's like nuclear first strike on pedophiles, outing pedophiles. And that's why they can't, that's why Trump is not doing this shit. Like, for example, there are plenty of people that we know have been heavily involved with Jeffrey Epstein, prominent Democrats like the Clintons, okay? We know that. It's not a secret. Everybody knows. Ghislaine Maxwell was prominently featured in Chelsea Clinton's wedding. Like, it would be super easy for Trump to just be like, oh yeah, the Clintons, they were all over the list. I see it. I've seen it in my own two eyes. I've seen it with my own two eyes. But they can't. They can't even do that because they could just as easily turn around and be like, every single Republican booster, every single Republican industry leader, every single, I mean, there are so many links to the intelligence community and so many links to like the Mossad and Israel that like Democrats can't do anything about that either. What are they going to do? Out Bill Gates?
And I think that I'm parsing her language here, but it just feels like she's really taking the heat here. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino are kind of not as much.
Well, okay, just on the review it language, like the way she made it sound in that statement was that I'm going to get to the accountability here. Even if she didn't explicitly say, okay, there's something in these documents that you needed to see, she sort of implied it. And so I think that's why you have the whole MAGA universe coming after her for this.
It is interesting that Bongino, though, seems to not be.
What do you mean? One thing I'm still confused about is if it's a CIA Mossad operation, why allow Epstein to get arrested? The Miami reporter brought it back into the forefront with her investigative reporting. And then at that point, it's better for the government to take action, open a case, and then basically seize all of his assets and terminate him so that there is no way that he could like potentially testify. You know what I mean? Yeah. Julie Brown and her investigations led to the resurfacing of all this like Jeffrey Epstein stuff. She wrote a piece in the Miami Herald. So what ultimately going to happen if the Epstein issue doesn't go away? How does it get addressed? Or will we collectively grow tired of no progress on this front? I think people will still keep talking about it.
Taking as much heat when, you know, yes, they've been pointing to those comments by Pam Bondi, but in many ways, Pam Bondi is trying to contain a political sort of firestorm that Bongino also ignited through his podcast, talking about the Epstein files as well during the campaign as well. And now you have him in actually a law enforcement position in government, now seeing the result of fanning the flames of a conspiracy. Now you have the backlash that comes with trying to assert reality to this base.
Let me just play really quickly. Our Donnie O'Sullivan was in Tampa and he started like asking around, and here's what people told him.
I don't think people are going to be quiet about it until they really do it. But who knows if we'll ever know the true story.
Well, I think that if they don't release the Epstein files, whatever J.D. Vance says then is irrelevant because it's like everybody's going to take it as like a lie because of what Donald Trump did.
And you also had General Mike Flynn tweeting out, please understand the Epstein affair is not going away.
Look, if your entire movement is based on telling people that the government is lying to them about just about everything, you're never going to be able to convince them that suddenly the government is telling the truth. And we've kind of gone behind the curtain here where, if you now run things, it becomes difficult to say, you know what, believe us, oops.
Is this a test for the president? Meaning, most of the time he can say, like with the Iran strikes, no, okay, this is what I say it is. Is that going to happen here?
No, the groundswell is too big. People really want accountability here. And the reason being this idea that there's a deep state, right? That there's government coordinating with billionaires to cover things up. That has been a huge part of the MAGA base's messaging and beliefs for so many years predating this term. I don't think Donald Trump is just going to be able to sweep this under the rug. I do think eventually it'll pass and we'll move on to some other conspiracy. But in the meantime, this is what's hot in MAGAverse right now, and it's very bad for Pam Bondi.
Is there other red meat that they can be thrown? Meaning, do you think there's going to be another controversy that will appear this week?
Well, I think it will be interesting to see, does it ever metastasize past her and move to Trump, because he gets very angry when the word Epstein is spoken now. Does it move?
And you heard that person even saying, well,
which is why it's a perfect opportunity to consistently bring this up. For all of the reporters out there, this is a wonderful opportunity for many of you. Also, here it is. Libs of TikTok finally commented about Epstein and totally left out Trump. She knows he did it. Libs of TikTok says, breaking, Ghislaine Maxwell offers to testify before Congress on Epstein's sex trafficking scheme. Maxwell was convicted in 2022 for child sex trafficking charges and is currently serving 20 years in prison. She was the only person to be convicted of charges related to Epstein's sex trafficking scheme.
Now, Kennedy.
Yeah, Trump says he will release the Epstein client list if elected. The Democrat elites are shaking right now, says Libs of TikTok.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them.
It's just very strange for a lot of people that the list of clients that went to the island has not been made public.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Probably will be, by the way. Probably.
So if you're able to, you'll be...
Yeah, I'd certainly take a look at it. Now, Kennedy's interesting because it's so many years ago. They do that for danger, too, because, endangers certain people.
Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un has never been to Epstein Island. Another major W for Jusha. It's true. It is true. That's right.
Et cetera. So Kennedy is very different.
Yeah, notice how he very quickly flips it off to Kennedy to talk about how, that happened a long time ago, but we can release that one because it happened a long time ago.
Different from the Epstein thing. But yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Yeah, that was a fucking lie, I guess. Son of a bitch. This is how I felt when he didn't arrest Hillary Rodham Clinton.
She was
so goddamn annoying to me because he just kept saying, lock her up. And then he came into office and he didn't lock her up. That was so lame, dude. And obviously, MAGA did not punish him for that, right? They should have, but they didn't. I believed him. That's why I voted for him illegally numerous times, okay? I was like, oh, he said, lock her up. And I want that. Now, he's like, oh, I'm going to release the Epstein files. Release it. I will release it. Now he's not releasing it. It's fucking bullshit.
The one that was really hands-on running the network. But he was also
How Ghislaine Maxwell helped build Epstein's network. Oh, God, this is Sean Ryan, who literally is basically a mouthpiece for the government. But let's see what they're talking about here.
Spy for Israel and...
So Maxwell's dad was an Israeli spy.
Jamie Dimon with J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan just gave Epstein's victims $290 million.
Let's talk about Maxwell. How did she play into everything? What was her role?
Well, she was the one that was really hands-on running the network, the logistics person. I interviewed an Israeli spy, Ari Ben Menashe, on my podcast. And, he's a spy. It's difficult to know if he's telling the truth or not. But okay, so her father, Robert Maxwell, had a publishing empire, but he was also a spy for Israel and.
Okay, this part is correct though. Like Robert Maxwell used to be with the OSS and very famously also worked alongside the CIA and MI6, like British intelligence, and most notably the Mossad. So that part is not wrong. This is correct.
Russia and the UK and probably the US. And he had this huge publishing empire. And what he did was he went into the retirement funds.
Yeah, I saw this.
His employees and stole them all.
So Maxwell's dad was an Israeli spy.
Yes.
This is just like, this is them trying to do damage control, I think. Dan is in a positive mood. Also, God, it's so bitch made. What do you mean positive mood? Like, who gives a fuck what Dan Bongino's personal attitude is? Like, why am I supposed to care about this? Put the Epstein files in the bag. Okay? You're a fucking public servant. I don't give a shit about how sad you are. What the fuck is this pussy ass bullshit? Why is everyone like this now? Everyone's like, "Ooh, I'm so weepy. I'm so sad. Oh no, no one will trust me in my podcasting business any longer." Like, I don't care, man. Just fucking release the goddamn files, dude. What the fuck is this? Put the files in the bag, little bro.
Who was running logistics for Jeffrey Epstein?
No. So he was a spy for sure, and then he had a huge publishing empire.
But his daughter was running logistics for Jeffrey
Epstein. Yes,
who has been named by government officials that he's untouchable because he's in intelligence.
Yes.
So there's a line.
There's
right
a nexus there. Yeah.
Yeah. Who was the government official? Oh, that's right. At the time, the government official was the South Florida prosecutor Alexander Acosta. You might actually know that name if you paid attention to the Trump administration the first time around, because he became the Trump Labor Secretary, Alexander Acosta. That's right. He's the one who said, this is a secondhand account of his, that Jeffrey Epstein had belonged to intelligence. He also has not really said anything else since then. He just kind of resigned after the Jeffrey Epstein stuff popped off.
And Maxwell had a yacht called Lady Ghislaine, which was named after his daughter, Ghislaine, who was his favorite child. And
that yacht, I think that yacht was also, that yacht was later purchased by another spook, possible government stooge, who was assassinated by the Saudi state. Jamal Khashoggi.
He jumped off one day, and he had a very mysterious death, much like Jeffrey Epstein. Now, the cover story on it is that, I mean, because it did come out that he'd ripped off all these, the retirement funds of all these employees. I mean, millions of dollars. I mean, he destroyed all these people. I mean, a guy obviously didn't have a conscience. And Ghislaine Maxwell supposedly...
Oh, sorry, that was his dad, Adnan Khashoggi. Jamal Khashoggi's dad, Adnan Khashoggi, owned the yacht afterwards.
Then came to New York to get away from it. And then that's where she met Jeffrey Epstein. Now, according to this Israeli spy that I interviewed, Maxwell put, Robert Maxwell put Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein together. And they were together even before he died, before his mysterious death. Some people think it's suicide, some people think it's homicide. I mean, it's a very strange death. So somehow Maxwell and Epstein got together. And the story is that Epstein had the money and Maxwell had the connections. And I think that there's some truth there.
And this guy was a spy for the Israelis, the UK, and possibly the US, and I believe you named another one.
And possibly Russia, yeah.
And do all these countries...
Sorry, I'm going to give you the details. Dancing Hare, formerly Lady Ghislaine and Lady Mona Kay, is a super yacht built by Amos in 1986. Okay? It was built for Ahmad Khashoggi. It was then purchased also in 1986 by Robert Maxwell, who died by drowning whilst cruising on the yacht off the Canary Islands under suspicious circumstances. Okay? And now, I believe the last owner, or the owner after Maxwell's death, was an Arabian businessman who sold the yacht in 2017 to Anna Murdoch, at one time the wife of Rupert Murdoch. It was only after the sale the new owner discovered the yacht had previously been owned by Maxwell. After a refit at the bulk shipyard in Urk, Netherlands over the winter, the vessel has been renamed the Dancing Hare in May 2018. How interesting that the yacht previously was owned by his longtime rival who died under mysterious circumstances.
Countries have people involved in this trafficking ring?
With Jeffrey Epstein, it's really difficult to know. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was active in Europe, for sure. He was actually buying. I mean, we're not talking renting. He was buying young girls in Eastern Europe. Buying them like slaves.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, how evil that is.
We've covered this in other episodes about how trafficking works. But I believe you mentioned something about, were there members in the UK government involved or within the royal family?
Okay, so definitely Prince Andrew was part of. I mean, he was pandering. Epstein was pandering girls to Prince Andrew, and who is a thoroughly repulsive human being. I mean, I did some research into him, and anybody that ever worked for the royal family loathes Prince Andrew.
What was he into? What was his deal?
He liked underage girls. That was his thing. But he's just a nasty, foul human being. I think a lot of the people in the royal family are probably nasty, foul human beings. I think Andrew is probably a little special that way. He's probably a little nastier and more foul than his siblings. Because just from, and this is very strange. So here's a guy that molests underage girls, but he has all these teddy bears. And his, the butler, or whoever takes care of the house manager where he lives, they're supposed to have the teddy bears on his bed in a certain way. And if the teddy bears aren't on his bed the way that he likes them, then he has a conniption. So he likes to molest little girls, and then he likes teddy bears on a certain way on his bed. So that's kind of, and according to Andrew, he doesn't sweat either, according to the BBC interview. So, which really, I mean, there was that BBC interview where he attempted to acquit himself, and he came across as such an idiot. I mean, you could tell that. It's like Jamie Dimon with J.P. Morgan. J.P. Morgan just gave Epstein's victims $290 million.
Yeah.
And there was a New York Times article where Jamie Dimon was talking, and you could tell that the guy was lying. I mean, it didn't take rocket science to figure out. And then, he's saying, of course, we had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, there's this $290 million settlement. So obviously, these banks were integral to what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And they knew, according to these lawsuits, these banks, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, they knew exactly what Jeffrey Epstein was up to.
How do you think they were involved?
Well, I think that some of the executives in those banks, like Jess Staley, I mean, were involved.
I guess this guy didn't listen to the famous interview of Prince Andrew where he said he's incapable of sweating, or other defenses such as, oh, I was not wearing my child fucking suit that night, so clearly I'm exonerated 100%. He literally just said the sweating thing. It doesn't matter. He didn't believe it. And that's what's fucked up. Clearly, when he said, oh, I wasn't wearing the proper nighttime attire in this photo that I normally would use if I were to do such a thing. that was when I believed that. That is when I believed Prince Andrew. This man clearly doesn't. Okay? It's messed up. It's, dare I say, ableist.
In Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile network. And
why are they going? I guess what
and Diamond too.
I'm kind of. I mean, it's not, so if they sued J.P. Morgan and not the individuals, how was J.P. Morgan as a company involved in the Jeffrey Epstein, sex trafficking ring, rather than just the key players that were? I mean, do you see what I'm getting at? Why wouldn't they go after the key individuals? And why did they go after the company, J.P. Morgan?
Well, the argument that they made was that J.P. Morgan was cognizant of Jeffrey Epstein trafficking children and gave him the money to facilitate it. They gave him money to do other things, but with the money that J.P. Morgan gave Jeffrey Epstein, that facilitated his child trafficking.
I mean, do you think this was a protection? Were they protecting certain people's identity by putting it into the company?
Absolutely, Jess Staley and Diamond. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, it's pretty obvious that when you look into them, they were involved with Jeffrey Epstein.
How were they involved?
I think that they were probably involved in molesting young girls. I mean, that's my surmise on that. And according to internal documents that were that the lawyers for the Epstein victims were able to acquire, J.P. Morgan definitely knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. Now, how would J.P. Morgan know that unless some of those executives were taking part in it? I mean, it doesn't make any sense that J.P. Morgan would not know about it. So if those individuals, like I've just named, weren't involved with Jeffrey Epstein.
Were those names involved in the lawsuit? Were they mentioned in the lawsuit?
They were mentioned, yes.
Okay.
But it wasn't explicit. But they were mentioned, yeah. And then Deutsche Bank is...
You're so scared to actually criticize the leaders and powers to be that it's almost disgusting. You are so weak. When you are right because they delete all the evidence of you being right, release the original Daily Show and Colbert Report. What? The fuck's this guy talking about? Listen, guys, according to the Bush, finding bin Laden wasn't important and neither was Epstein Island. What? People are consuming your content, ... You are not any different, but at least you are free and doesn't financially harm your consumers like other products do, so a net positive. Lol, are they going to send you to a camp? Well, that's nice. Are you getting a bus ticket? Message be heard in chat. You mean read in chat. And it's your chat. There's no victory here, my dude. Don't read. Is your TVU still on when you start a stream? Draining battery. Stop reading schisms. No, I turned it off. Also, it wasn't draining battery anyway. Alan Dershowitz detonated a legal hand grenade on live TV. I know for a fact Epstein documents are being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names. I know who's suppressing them. But a judge's order silences me. Hand to God. Translation. There is a client list. Judges are sealing it. The names are powerful enough to bend the U.S. justice system into a vault. If the courts won't break confidentiality for the public interest, Congress must subpoena the files, put them in the record, and let the sunlight do his job. What the... Why would Congress do that?
Every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them.
Yeah. I mean, he always had his underwear on when he was on the Epstein mansions on numerous occasions, guys. Hand to God. Okay? Hand to God. One of the most high-profile clients of Jeffrey Epstein. Hand to God. I guess the reason why he's like this excited to speak on the Epstein stuff is because the person who outed him is now dead, Virginia Giuffre. So it's not like she can continue to out him. That was his number one op for the longest time, if you guys recall.
Also,
yeah. Also, the lawsuit was settled, and she was bound by an NDA.
the same type of thing. They were aware of Jeffrey Epstein, and they're going to give up millions of dollars to him. I think they're only going to give up $75 million.
That's it?
Yeah.
How many victims is this going to be dispersed to?
We don't. I don't really know those numbers yet. But there's multiple tragedies here. But one of the major tragedies is $290 million isn't even going to dent JP Morgan.
I'm well aware. I totally agree with you. That's nothing.
I mean, it's like you or me getting like a parking ticket. So that's a tragedy.
No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan.
Okay, well, there's also Epstein battle lines. The 5 MAGA factions waging an Epstein civil war, a taxonomy of truculent Trumpists from Will Sommer on the Bulwark. You have the Get Over It crowd on the one side. If Trump's remarks before his cabinet meeting on Tuesday about getting over Epstein didn't set a clear enough message to his allies, his farcical allegation over Truth Social on Saturday that Barack Obama has somehow tampered with or even fabricated the Epstein files made it clear he's not reopening the Epstein investigation and folks should just give up. That prompted some of the right's biggest names to finally fall in line. FBI Director Kash Patel, who declared before taking office that the FBI controlled Epstein's black book and that Trump should campaign on a promise to roll it out, said on X on Saturday the conspiracy theories just aren't true and never have been. Boo. Boo. 125,000 likes, by the way. But no one swung on Epstein harder or more clumsily than Charlie Kirk himself. As the possibility of Dan Bongino's resignation loomed, Kirk appeared at the conference event on Friday alongside MAGA travelers Jack Posobiec and Steve Bannon to fume together about the lack of Epstein discourse. Kirk complained that the media wasn't asking enough questions about Epstein. In one weekend's more amusing speeches, he complained the shadowy force had tricked Posobiec when Attorney General Pam Bondi gave him one of the cursed Epstein binders. Jack was used, Kirk said of Posobiec, not exactly in a friendly way. And like a sap, you believe them, Bannon added to Posobiec. Posobiec scowled. But then Kirk started the shift. On Saturday, the same day, he reportedly received a phone call from Trump attempting to rein him in. Kirk said he had reviewed an email exchange about the memos released that supposedly cleared Attorney General Pam Bondi of being implicated of any kind of cover-up. That Kirk is being used to vouch for the credibility of the Attorney General is a remarkable sign of the times. Then on Monday, Kirk went a step further and announced on his show that he was moving on from the Epstein issue until further notice. Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being, Kirk said. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government. Pussy. Number 2, Epstein dead enders. It's not so easy for everyone to move on from Epstein. That's because for Trump supporters, the Epstein case has come to symbolize something that goes far beyond the mysterious rich sex criminal and his circle of friends. They see it instead as the most notorious example of a permanent theme in American society, the elites getting one over the common man. For this part of the Trump world, Epstein has come to stand for everyone and everything that screws the little guy, mass immigration to depressed wages, housing unaffordability, and much more. If the elites can keep abusing girls with impunity, what else can they get away with? That was the core message of Tucker Carlson's speech at the TPUSA conference, which tied the abrupt end of the Epstein investigation into a host of populist complaints. In Tucker's telling, Epstein was somehow part and parcel of crippling credit card interest rates and transgender sports debates. A lot of the simmering anger over Epstein relates to Israel. Many conspiracies claim that Epstein was a Mossad agent, and Carlson said in a speech that Epstein was working for the Jewish state. As a result, much of the debate over whether to move on from Epstein is divided along the same lines as earlier intra-MAGA debate over whether to go to war with Iran. This is not an accident. It is because, contrary to what Will Sommer is writing here, I do think that there is an Israel involvement with the Epstein case. as well as a CIA involvement with the Epstein case as well, which is precisely why you see the same exact battle lines being drawn here, both with respect to the people who are anti-Israel and the people who want the Epstein stuff to be released. Israel critics like Candace Owens, Bannon, and Carlson are on the other side, and Israel supporters like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are on one side of the Epstein situation, where they're basically saying nothing to see here, move along. This also goes back to the same fucking division within the MAGA base that I have been tracking, noticing, and talking about quite extensively. I would go so far as to say that aside from administrative failures, the Daily Wire's demise is directly tied to its endless defense of Israel, as Ben Shapiro is shepherding the process. Ben Shapiro is basically steering the Daily Wire ship into its demise by consistently defending the state of Israel. Holy fuck, you can't make this shit up.
I'm coming to give you some more ear candy or perhaps an ear ache, but I'm going to do my best off of this Jason Isbell tune, Dreamsicle. Epstein died by suicide. Believe that, and you must be blind. You've been telling us you released the file, but where are they? We've gone along with what's been told. You've had plenty of time, you're in control. But now you say you will withhold the Epstein file.
Don't release them. I take it back. I'm out. For years and years and years, I've talked about the importance of this stuff. But that's finally coming to a close.
Dreamsicle on a summer night in a folding armchair. Trump's howling at the moon. Release the Epstein files.
Okay, never mind. I think this is a CIA op to make us seem like we're affiliated with this person for wanting to know the truth about the Epstein files. The show trial compromisers, the third camp. Trump administration and its still reliable culture war allies seem to be offering the president's angry supporters a compromise. Rather than prosecuting the pedophiles allegedly on some Epstein list, maybe instead we can launch trumped-up cases against some unrelated national security and law enforcement officials. On Sunday, a reliably pro-Trump website, Just the News, reported that the FBI, under Patel, is operating a sprawling probe aimed at participants in the so-called grand conspiracy of government weaponization. The remit of the investigation and the special prosecutor whose appointment is being considered comprises of an impressive variety of government actions that Trump supporters have been mad about, in some cases for the better part of a decade. The grievances touch on everything from the failure to prosecute Hillary Clinton over her email server to former special counsel Jack Smith's criminal cases against Donald Trump. The idea that the Epstein case must be put on the back burner to focus on politicized prosecutions against former Trump foes caught on among other parts of the larger MAGA influencer network. Conspiracy theorist Lara Logan defended Bondi on X, suggesting that the attacks over her handling of the Epstein matter might be meant to distract from an investigation of former CIA Director John Brennan. It's the other way around. Okay? Even Bannon is coming around on this position. On Thursday, he proposed a special counsel to investigate Epstein, but with a portfolio that would inexplicably also include the 2020 election and the Russia investigation. Hassan doesn't want the Epstein files released because he's in them. Dog, if I was in the Epstein files, I'd be a victim. Like, that's one of the funniest anti-Hassan positions I've heard. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like age range wise, I would be a victim. Okay? Not the other way around. But in any case, then you have the cabal accommodationists. Once QAnon believers urged one another to put blind faith in Trump to trust the plan, knowing in their hearts that he would take on and ultimately defeat the pedophile cabal. Now, some of Trump's media allies are saying that their audiences should trust the plan and leave the powerful cabal alone. For example, comedian Tim Dillon suggested, okay, I don't think Tim Dillon is a QAnon guy. I think he's just an endless contrarian. Suggested if Trump pushed further on the Epstein case, the cabal would kill him. But no one has gone further than Dilbert creator, oh, this is my favorite one, MAGA pontificator Scott Adams. While Patel is arguing that the Epstein case is just not as big as its advocates have claimed, Adams suggests that the pedophile cabal is very real indeed. So real, in fact, that it's just too powerful for Trump to take on directly. Giving up on Epstein, Adams argues, will at least ensure Republicans stay in power. This is my favorite argument so far, which is that the elite pedophile cabal is too powerful for Trump, and we can keep doing tax cuts. And, ICE agents can round up farmers and shit. And that way we can feel better. Would you favor full disclosure if you knew it would derail a peace negotiation, Adams? But what peace negotiation? There ain't no peace negotiation on the books. Would you favor full disclosure if you knew it would end Republican control of Congress and plunge the country back into a Democrat open border hellscape? In a video to his fans, Adams added that they need to trust Trump because you don't live in a democracy. When he says it's time to move on, wink, 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 I feel it's time to move on, Adams said. The oblivious. No one has more badly misjudged the current Epstein moment than longtime Trump world creature Roger Stone, who gave a speech at the TPUSA conference while dressed in his customary Al Capone chic. Stone told the audience about a conversation he'd purportedly had with a reporter who kept asking Stone, what about Epstein? In Stone's recounting, he steadfastly ignored the question and touted Trump policy accomplishments. This is literally like people saying to the Biden administration, there's an inflation crisis. There's an inflation crisis. There's a cost of living crisis. And the Biden administration is like, I did NATO. That's it. They are behaving like Democrats. And it's making the base collapse in and of itself. Okay? That's literally what's going on. Come on, watch me. Trump's doing well. Think about all the stuff. Stone probably thought this was a clever way to illustrate the stance he believed everyone at the devout MAGA gathering would happily adopt on the issue, essentially deflection combined with prayer that everyone would just be quiet about the sicko cabal. After all, don't give the media an inch is a bit of a classic messaging theory from Trump himself. Yeah, except the Epstein stuff was not giving the media even an inch. So now you're the media trying to fucking behave as the media to be like, move on from this, move on from this. It's not going to work. But in practice, Stone's anecdote resulted in hundreds of energized young activists shouting, what about Epstein? Line back at him. Things got particularly bad as Stone extended his rhetorical gambit for more than 10 minutes. Every time he tried to talk about some Trump win, he was met with the same refrain he claimed to have heard from the hostile journalists. What about Epstein? Except this time, it was coming from the home crowd. There it is, folks. The Trump-Epstein saga continues. The saga will continue to continue. And that's all I got for now because I'm tired. I love you all. I will see you tomorrow. And we'll do the super woke saga tomorrow. But that's all I got for today. Peace, everybody. I did 6 hours yesterday, 6 hours 42 minutes today. I'm slowly getting back to my original form of being able to do 8 to 10 hours a day. It's taken a lot out of me, especially with all the stream complications, but I will get back to it. Love you all and see you tomorrow. Peace. Bye-bye. To the topic just begun. There he is again. Her sun is streaming. Her sun is streaming. There he is again. Her sun is streaming. Her sun is streaming. Reviewing the P.O. box. Uncle Uger's face. Sudden discord agitprop. Great names
dreams take embrace. Tiny Bernie Sanders, LGBTQ Air Force. The whole left at your fingertips, on at your door. H3 crowded debate, the Young Turks online show. 3 full fucking years of this, plenty more to go. 90-day fiance, talks of champagne bourgeoisie. A Trump rally live reaction, a mass riot at DC.